I can't get rid of it. There's no way to get rid of that frame.
That's good. That's good.
Nah.
Remember the basic? The basic form. Repetition is the basic form of propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Repetition is the basic form of propaganda. It's always there. It's always in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work on some of us, does it?
Well, it works on everyone eventually.
And you know what to look for. All it does is irritate you.
Yeah.
We got into a neat little conversation, a little short conversation about propaganda yesterday in the rants.
Yeah.
He's so easy to trigger. And the irony is lost.
Let's say, Bees, you're looking very 1980s today.
I'm going to frost it up, put some product in there. Start pretty oldies.
Leg warmers and leotards is what you need to it.
I got my granddaughter.
Don't show it. No.
I got my granddaughter leg warmers, wristbands, and a headband for her birthday, and you thought I gave her like a bucket of gold. She's like, yes. I'm going to pull out the Olivia Newton-John exercise tape and let her go nuts.
Well, you can't find your what's her name, Jane Fonda.
I can't stand Jane Fonda.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, Jane is not a nice lady.
There was
Hanoi Jane. You guys aren't fans of Hanoi Jane?
Well, let me put it this way. I'm a fan of Barbarella. I am not a fan of an asshole who goes into an enemy camp and then tattles when your soldiers, your country soldiers, are trying to send messages back to home base.
Yeah, the guy could have died. I don't know, did the guy die? Or
I think he just got beaten with an inch of his life. Not that that's much better, It's like...
But if you talk about Richard Simmons' workout, there's the little-known Gene Simmons workout where you wear big high-platform shoes and exercise your tongue. But anyway, that's another story for another video. But
yes.
What is this, the Dick Van Dyke Show?
Oh!
I got me some free duck eggs coming this afternoon. Yes.
Just ate some eggs out my own yard with some black peppercorns and sriracha and bacon grease, so it was good.
Incredible.
Issue 7, the anniversary issue.
Yeah.
It's kind of bleh.
I kind of liked it. It had variety. At least it had
this stuff in here. Yeah.
Yeah, this is my least and favorite issue so far for personal reasons, which I'll get into later when we get there. But there was a lot of meh in it.
Yeah, I did like the cover. I do like the cover.
I do love the humor that the dragon has eaten a full-on party there, and he's picking his teeth. Although there's definitely a beautiful simplicity to the dragon on issue 1, the green one, and this one, like, I like the red, but it's very blotchy in its color. If that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, usually I like water.
Good detail for a watercolor, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Doesn't have any wings though, so it's not an official D&D. Anyway.
Maybe it's
the Urban Dragon Man. We'll just call him the Dragon Man.
Yes. It's a Drake.
The Dragon Day. No way.
Well, I run into this in my games. Everybody assumes the body will be laying there when you get back. There are scavengers in the dungeon. Odds are you're eaten. So if you retreat from the dungeon and leave a body, sorry, it's usually not recoverable.
I feel attacked. No.
You feel attacked, knowing that your favorite characters are ghoul food.
Oh yeah, that happens.
Dead characters, skeletons in someone else's dungeon anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you guys read the page 2, the contents, and the going over about how it was 300 from issue 1 to issue 7, 300% increase?
Yeah.
I also noticed how they try and clarify, in all caps no less, what official does and does not entail.
Yeah, none of this is supposed to be official. You could see stuff forming that became official or like rules later, but nothing. It was always in the early years before they really went for money.
Mhm.
It was all about do your own thing. It was very DIY. This is 1977. I kind of like that.
Mhm.
Actually, is this 77 or 78? Yeah, I
76. I
think
was
it's
8
77
years old.
actually.
8 years old. Well,
I do know that like there was this belief that like if M.A.R. Barker or Gary Gygax or Dave Arneson was doing an article in here, then 9 times out of 10 it would be official.
Not
But
nothing
even
was supposed to be official until like they put it in a book. Dragon was like suggestions.
gotcha. And speaking of suggestions, we've got our first article here, and one of the highlights: what to do when the dog eats your dice.
Yeah, which I thought was ridiculous. I've used shits, but the rest of this was insane.
Yeah, I
Back
think
in
that
the
was the
day,
point.
you first, sorry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was all meant in jest,
you're
Oh,
except
chitting
for the
me.
absolutely.
You're chitting
Like
me.
I
No.
do know, at least in White Dwarf, they were very big on the usage of calculators back then. So it starts pretty tame with just a pair of d6s, chits, which I do know they use for homes once or twice, um, numbered straws, and then slowly it gets zanier and zanier to like phone book flipping, lazy Susan dartboard, and classic Greco-Roman augury.
I actually think cutting cards would work with a game like Boot Hill. I think I would rather use cutting cards than
yeah,
dice.
yeah,
That would be so much more fun.
yeah.
Indeed.
Castle
And I did like
Falkenstein
the
uses
idea
them.
of the poker
Nice.
chips for chits. That actually struck me as something that could be very very easily done and maybe even fun to a certain extent.
Yeah, making your rolls another limited resource that you have to bid with and stuff.
Hmm. I have
Yeah,
played games
I
like
didn't
that,
thought of
so it
that.
does work.
yeah. Castle Falkenstein actually uses cards like that. If you've ever played that wonderful badass game.
I
Yeah.
do know that the original Deadlands did as well.
Deadlands is awesome.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I love Deadlands. I think that's the best Weird West that's ever been made, to be honest.
Hmm.
uh,
Absolutely.
when
I
it
think
comes to
Fantasy Country comes in second, in my opinion. But you know, I'm biased.
I've got this game called Shadows of Brimstone. It's a uh, co-op board game dungeon crawl that that's actually how I got the boy into the hobby because he saw me playing it solo. He was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, and it's awesome because it's got crap tons of minis. It's pretty simple, but after a while it gets pretty in depth. But it was basically a blatant ripoff of Deadlands with the dark stone
Yeah.
and all that.
Next up, we have Gary Gygax on the origin of the Dungeons and Dragons game, and most of this actually checked out.
Mhm.
Well,
Man,
Um,
I
controversial.
think Arnold
Controversial.
gets the short stick.
like,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
although something funny is that he mentions a fanzine he was working on before D&D called the Domesday Book, not to be confused with the historical Domesday Book. And if you read those magazines, it completely torpedoes the narrative that Dungeons and Dragons is nothing like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, because Gygax did a series of articles on Tolkienian dragons, even responding to himself as Smog the Dragon in a letter.
nice.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's
when
where,
somebody sues you, you kind of lose the taste for their
yeah, that's
stuff.
what I was thinking too. It may be less, you know, this isn't what we're about, and more, fuck you guys then for suing us.
Yeah, and then we had there is the controversy on the level of contribution that Dave Arneson did or did not do, which is this is the article that was you know took many decades, but it was heard around the world. This is where a
Mhm.
lot of you got the Gaiaxian and Arnesinian clans of who created what, and then everybody forgets David Wesley's contribution to it. But
Yeah, but I mean, Arneson. Okay, if Arneson hadn't shared said rules with Gary Gygax, there is no Dungeons and Dragons.
there you go.
Indeed. And
Black
Right.
even
first, the level progression heroic characters in a dungeon
Mm-hmm.
as a campaign was Arneson. Now, he was a very rules-like guy and kind of scatterbrained, I guess, when it comes to putting these rules down.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah, and Gary was the guy who goes, like, look, when you read this article, he was giving what? How many pages? And he returned 100. So he took Arneson's 18 handwritten pages and made 100 typewritten pages for a game. And from that, you get D&D. Well, you get the 3 books eventually, and then the basic in 77. Remember, the first basic game came out in 77 as well. And then the hardbacks later.
I would love to be able to get a hold of some of the Doomsday books if possible, but I was doing some looking in. The first module was Palace of the Vampire Queen or something like that, which I actually have coming in today. Lately I've been really into the history of the hobby. I would absolutely love to get a hold of that, even reprints, photocopies, some crap like that. So you guys come up with something like that, you let me know.
Yeah, get up with Griff. He probably has original copies, and Kuntz too. I know they're both familiar with how to work a copier. I mean, because that's what all they used earlier was copiers as opposed to actual printing.
Yeah.
Now I must ask, was it that 18 pages were sent or 18 pages were used? Because it also mentions that
pages, and that's not counting all the phone calls. That's not mentioned here, but in other interviews, he talks about where he's on the phone. They would talk over the phone. They had a question. They would just back and forth. But it says right here, I received 18 or so handwritten pages of rules and notes pertaining to his campaign, and I immediately began work on a brand new manuscript. Greyhawk campaign started. The first D&D campaign. I guess you can make that distinction because Blackmoor was Blackmoor and Greyhawk was D&D.
The first fantasy campaign, as they call
it. Because it wasn't called Dungeons & Dragons until the daughter was asked what she thinks they should be called it. And Wizards actually named the game.
Yeah, playing a Blackmoor is what they called it, or the Blackmoor Butch or something like that. Is what they called themselves.
Yeah, and that probably would have had more sci-fi mix than I was comfortable with as a game master. But
yeah, he did.
They seemed to have a lot of fun.
Like, if you get the Blackmoor book they put out a year or two back, there's a really amusing story where Dave Arneson, writing about Dave Arneson and his buds, land on a fantastic planet, and they serve as they use ray guns and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they were very much they had Lost City type setups. And I keep seeing these the mapping the dungeon. I'm so tempted in random postcards to see if these guys are still alive. Hey, it's just called Dungeon 7 that you run D&D. Are you still running?
Honestly, dude, the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't end up there, or they say no. I'd say go say hi.
I think it's funny to be like, Dad died 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But that was an interesting. Gary Gygax on Dungeons & Dragons, Origins of the Game. Is this the first article where he actually talks about it? Or was it an earlier issue that we just kind of glossed over?
Because I know in other fan magazines he talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. And then I saw this advertisement for Lyle's Craft Center. I think most of these places are gone now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, there's the likelihood that any of them are still around is...
Well, the one in Cincy it went away because they went and did missionary work instead. And then they came back for the oldest one in Cincinnati. And I think they're open again. I think it's grandkids of the original owners now. There's a thing for Origins 77. Was Origins originally in New York? Because I've always remembered it being in Columbus, Ohio.
I don't know.
Huh. And then the next article, which on page 8, Mystery Hill, America's Stonehenge. This is an archaeology article in Dragon Magazine.
Yes, reading this gave me flashbacks to In Search of.
Yeah. Or Ancient Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was surprised they didn't mention the what was it, the snake mounds, I think in Ohio.
Yeah. It's as old, if not older.
And then we have Poverty Point in Louisiana,
I
the
think it might be Mission Lake.
extremely
Yeah,
old stuff.
I've been to both. I've been to this place, Mystery Hill in New Hampshire.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about it?
Did an assignment up there for a year and a half. We were in New Hampshire for a year and a half in Derry, and we went everywhere. Love the White Mountains. This was a fun day trip we went to. It's definitely Neolithic. I mean, it's kind of rough. It's not like on a plane as the English Stonehill is, so it doesn't stand out as much. And they've had to reclaim it, but you can see all the points that they were making in this article. It's definitely rougher than what we're used to seeing. Like the ruins you put in your game are not going to be this tumbly unless you're really going out of your way to make them more Neolithic, like Caveman did it.
Hmm. What I was actually getting thoughts of when reading the article is that this is less something about like ancient. This is less something to do with like D&D and something more to use with like Boot Hill.
Maybe. I can
Like
see.
if you want to have like either some ancient conspirators or like some new age, well, Wild West New Agers trying to pull a fast one on a local Salem town, you could definitely have this as their base of operations. Or
Yeah,
maybe if you're doing some planes hopping games, your PCs walk through the portal and end up standing on top of the standing stone, and they're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, it does go deep history on here, and a lot of the oddball stuff that's ignored.
Mhm.
Like we do have carvings of Phoenician and Minoan ships and stuff like that we find around the nation in Massachusetts and places, but then they ignore it and they toss it to the side. So it's more like use these kind of inspirations in the real world to be some kind of mystery in your game to
That's
connect it
that's
to
and
civilization.
that's
how
entirely
many of
why
us
I
do that? Yeah.
yeah, that's why I got into the Ancient Aliens TV show. Not because I believed in most of that stuff. Some of it I did for a while, but it was just absolute fantastic ideas for ancient civilizations that are as less Earth-like as possible, especially when you go into the ancient history. There's just tons of nuggets you can just pull. Whether it's Atlantis or Egypt, just tons of just gold to mine out there.
How many of us are walking every time we walk around anywhere in the woods or near some ruins or a historical site that we don't go, I could put this in my game,
Yeah,
I mean,
I like that when I go hiking.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. I was going to say, my boy and I we used to go hiking in a local desert area, just to get the feel of it. So many, especially now, so many dungeon masters have never actually been in the woods, the desert, a swamp, or anything like that. And if you want to, be a dungeon master, you kind of need to know how to describe that stuff. And what better way to get a little experience? Even just camping at your local, campgrounds is at least a start.
it's hard to describe a peat bog if you've never smelt one,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
because it is like this weird earthy rot that's hard to explain.
Smells ancient. Yeah, we got swamps
Smells
and
old.
bogs and stuff all around where I live, so yeah, we know about that. And also, I suggest anybody that is a dungeon master or a player, go try to walk through some woods that have no trails and no human contact. Like there was a discussion I think that was had somewhere else earlier, but it's hard to pass through those woods, and if you don't have clothing that would allow you to do so, and shoes and boots and such,
Yeah,
you're going to get
I think
all
it was.
cut up.
I was talking about that just the other day.
Yeah.
You're a magic user walking around in robes and low soft boots. He's naked by the time he gets to the damn dungeon.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if he's not on a trail, yeah, it's you cannot pass through brambles and bush unless it's been burnt out or something like that. Which is another creepy thing you can do in the wilderness is have burnt out woods. But
Yeah.
Something
Go ahead.
I remember seeing some time back, and this should s- really show just how disconnected people are from the natural world. Sadly, is I remember seeing a post by someone having a freak out because they hate being in nature. like they're city slickers, and like every time they go camping, they just have this breakdown because it's quiet and they're surrounded by the open sky. And so someone did a funny retort where it's a drawing of the guy in question out in like this beautiful wilderness vista, and he's just crying and freaking out. Ah!
There was a post by Appalachian Podcast on X that was a repost of someone saying, "Would you take X amount of dollars to go down this road at 1 in the morning?" And it was literally someone just driving down a country road down a holler. And I'm like, that looks like driving home. I'm like, sure, give me your money. But the people who are terrified of not being around flat concrete and just being in a remote area, it terrifies them. I think
It's actually going to become one of the next social ailments that we're gonna see start popping up as time goes by. The more civilized we get, so to speak, the more people that are going to actually suffer from that, that particular ailment of just not being able to, function or know what to do. The terror they're going to experience just by going outside is going to be hysterical.
Pholagoraphobia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like for that much money to just go down a road in a beautiful nature scenery, all I gotta do first is look up how to deal with any wandering animals that might be there, and I just earned myself great money and had fun doing it. It's
Yep.
I
like
think it's hilarious, dude. It's like it's driving home, and a lot of country roads do look creepy at like 3 in the morning. But I mean, it's just because it's dark and the roads are super curvy. So you got
honestly, what place doesn't look creepy at 3 in the morning?
that's the point.
Well, maybe,
It's weird at 3 in the morning.
maybe I'm crazy, but in my youth, all the trails around my neighborhood, I used to like walk along the trails at night by myself, and it was just, I mean, it was the same as the dark. I mean, the daytime, it was just dark. But looking
Have,
back, there could have been an animal getting me or something, but there wasn't that many large predators where I live. So
Yeah, we don't have
have,
a lot of
have
predators.
any of you guys ever actually been like underground in the sewers?
I've been in cave systems like Mammoth Cave and other stuff like that. And
I have been in taking a tour through the underground railroads in Moose Jaw. Not quite the same thing, but underground.
When we were young, we
ground.
would we would pull up the manhole covers or go in down in the drainage ditches, and then there'd be accesses to these tunnels. And mind you, they're all round.
Mhm.
But we that's when we started playing D&D. We were like 12 to 14 to 16, and we'd go down there with candles, homemade torches, fireworks, things like that. And not only do you get a smell, but you really get a good feel for what it would be like in these quote
yeah,
unquote claustrophobic dungeon areas. We even had an encounter with what we thought was a giant rat. It was a possum. We were city kids. We didn't know any better. One of my buddies actually found a big giant piece of broken stonework from inside there, picked it up and killed it basically by
Oh
you know
wow!
We got
because
stuff.
we were terrified. We didn't know what the fuck it was. We thought it was a giant rat. Um,
You fought
and
an
then
RUS.
right. I mean, because it was like this big. I don't know.
how much XP did you get? No.
5. That's 5x. How many ways?
And we ran screaming all the way back home. You know, uh, it was terrifying. But mind you, one time we also found a dead body down there. Uh, Story
Holy
for
crap!
another time. But uh, if you have the opportunity, and you've got those drainage canals, well, if you follow them long enough, eventually you'll find a concrete
Yeah.
set of tunnels leading to different places, and you'll bump into cobwebs and spider webs and other stuff. You're not going to actually run into poop and urine unless you got to go yourself. But
You
it
can
really will give you an idea of what it would be like. And how many dungeons have you run or whatnot where the party had to go and use the sewers to infiltrate like a castle or something
Yeah,
such?
I'll
Couple
say
of dungeons. Yeah. Yeah,
but
it's like sadly because kids were playing down there, and because of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they had to make the things heavier so they couldn't lift them.
It's been
it's
like
why,
pay for the homeless.
yeah, that too. It's like stuff that we really should not have been cut off from,
The
politicians or not.
underworld.
Yeah, the underworld, the wilderness, the overland.
Well, let me real quickly share one of my stories of going into a muddy clay cave in Louisiana. Real quickly here, behind my buddy's house was like a 50-foot deep dirt pit. Right? They
Okay.
sold dirt and clay to people. Anyway, the sides of it had washed out, so there was literally these caves you could walk through made of just clay, not stone, clay and roots. So we
Nice.
discovered it. Water's dripping. Crawfish are walking along. We pass through it and we're like, wow. We go back inside to have a drink. We come back out right where we were at. A piece of clay about the size of a Volkswagen had fallen down right where we were at. Like
Yikes.
they were that close to death. Every one of us. And anyway, needless to say, never went in there again. But that's an underworld hazard you can throw at somebody with a mud clay cave. So
Random cave in. We're doing that with Highfield right now.
oh yeah, yeah.
I guess you could say you guys made your save and didn't die from a falling rock.
It fell out of our sight though. It's just we left and came back and it was completely different, terrifying. But anyway, never did that again ever. So.
Who read the story? The Journey Most Alone.
That is the continuation of last month's adventure, right?
Is it a continuation?
Yeah, it has the same main character of Isquick.
Really? Yeah, I didn't actually catch that one.
Yeah, it's him sort of continuing on to master all the elements and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is.
think I enjoyed it as much as last time, although I am amused by the character of what was your name there? Olin.
Oh,
Um, part of me wonders if Olin. I love how he's described. I love his sardonic sense of humor, and part of me wonders if he was based off of a dungeon master or two that the writer knew.
Hmm.
Like David A. Hargrave, maybe.
Possibly.
Uh,
I mean, it
Because
was
he
kind
left
of
with
interesting.
Vicky, not with. Sorry.
It was the style, though. It's not. It's a style I can read every once in a while, but I just read one just like it a
A week
week.
ago, yeah.
Right. So I couldn't. I mean, it's only 3 pages, really. Whatever happened to this kid?
Um,
Morno.
isn't he the
yes, it is.
artist for a ton of Arduin stuff?
We have Morno was one of the artists for the Arduin Grimoires, and I think they are bringing him back. I know they got Earl Otis back for
Nice.
the new books, along with a slew of other new great artists. And yes, Mac, that's what that is.
Awesome.
That's one of the reasons why I didn't get home from church last night till about 9:30, and I proceeded to fall asleep shortly thereafter because it was raining. The boy had uh, piano practice, and we had to get to church at some point, and we went to this church like an hour away from where we were because that's where the music class is. And I kid you not, even though this church was under construction, there wasn't even standing room only. We barely got inside the doors, stood around for like 20 minutes, like we're not getting in. It's just jam packed. So we went to our regular church, and it was fine. Crowded, but not. Even at 8:30, whatever, we rolled in halfway in the middle of the service, but it was still good. Of course, it was in Spanish, so I have no idea what happened.
Yeah. That's.
So if I'm a little light on some of the articles, that's why. Especially I don't know if it's the next article, but the
Well, the military formations. Yeah, we'll skip
oh
right over
god,
that because that is a lot of snooze.
Yeah, I
that's what knocked me
enjoyed
out.
Yeah,
Takemo's
Mar is. I bet he's a fun at parties because this was just. I like military history stuff, and this was like snooze fest.
Honestly, Parker probably was fun at parties. I just know that Tecumseh doesn't really click with you guys, so I'm like, you know what? Should I read and be the sort of devil's advocate for this article? Nah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, do it. Too late.
Okay, I'll do it next time then. But for
Yeah,
now,
yeah. I just pulled out my copy of it, and I was flipping through it, and I'm like, Oh man, I don't know if I can do this.
Well,
In
so they
that
put
case,
the archers up front. I was reading the archers formations, and the archers are up front. I'm like, that's not a good idea. Put them in
no.
place.
If you don't like the archers, it is. No.
Oh,
Very so acceptable.
fuck you, Fred! How
Money.
dare you stick me up at the last party? Just for that, you go in the front lines, you
Remember,
asshole.
remember that middle finger you gave me? Okay, here you go. You go in the front line there. Hey there, take that front line over there.
English,
Hey!
Irish.
I hate to correct you, Eldrad, but it's two fingers.
In England. Oh, the archer thing. Ah, nice.
Did I ask you this last time? Did you ever see the game Space Marines?
Dude, I'm buying a copy.
You buy a copy?
I found a copy. I will grab it and I'll let you guys know. Just because it's the first, so why not?
Was it $5 still?
Fuck. If it was $5, oh my god. Yeah, you'd hear me from here.
Fantac Games out of New Jersey. Oh, and Morno's real name is Brad Schnick.
No wonder he
Oh,
goes
you know what?
by the name
I've heard that name before elsewhere. That's
Yeah,
fine.
Amigo. He was big into computer games, I guess, in the 80s.
Hey, that's
Hey.
awesome
I
art,
think
though.
he actually worked on Diablo.
Ah,
Oh,
And believe it or
Okay.
not, he gave credit to Arduin in one of the early Diablos.
He did album work for Cold Iron, I guess. Songbook Cold Iron. Commodore 64 work. Harp design, made harps or something. Amiga, Labyrinth of Time. Thousand Oaks Library Mural, computer graphics works for Star Trek, Starfleet Command, Halls of the Dead, Dinotopia.
he
I
was
have
a
in my
regular.
mouth. I'm returned to Zork.
Oh,
Zork, nice. I mean,
Wow.
he's a nerd's nerd.
tabletop games or horror movies, that's how people get into stuff.
Well, let's talk about this art that's in the article, though. This is that style that we had back in the late
So-
70s, early 80s that just, it just grasped your imagination, you know?
Indeed, I love the art piece on page 23. Very beautiful, very historical, yet very wild as well.
I like it. It's just really good for like blacklight posters and album covers.
Honestly,
yeah.
this could have been the cover as well.
Probably with a better cover.
Oh yeah. Next on, the Prowler enemy with its really badass Errol Otis art. Some early Errol Otis.
Yeah, we are definitely skipping the
Yeah.
armors.
Um,
We will skip the military blocks because this sucked. Everybody agrees it's a.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother reading it because I know Tacumul doesn't work with you guys, so I agree by popular vote.
It's this military history stuff. I read some of these formations and I was like, man. And this monster is it's another one of these broken ass old monsters, man.
Yes.
It's
14 freaking hit dice. Holy crap.
14.
And not only that, you need 3 patriarchs to cast Dispel Evil at the same time, and you still take a little damage. So between this and the Death Angel from last week, which on second thought, I'm realizing why that maybe should not be unleashed on players, even sparingly. Yeah, I don't think this would be on my encounter chart personally.
It's got
well,
perfect charm games. It's permanent.
just for the record, a patriarch is an 8th level cleric.
Hmm. Oh, I also just noticed here under Evil Highly Intelligent, 50% magic resistance.
Yeah, that charm is forever. It's a permanent charm.
And then it mates inside of you, and then you die a week later.
No, I
The
do
only
love those kind of
upside here,
monsters.
yeah, the only upside here is that the number of peering is 1, so this is absolutely meant as like a boss monster. But then at that point, just use a mind flayer.
Yeah, our party got wiped out by the hot dog mouth snake guy.
Well, not
Girl,
just a
yeah, she wants
boss
to breed in
monster.
you.
Not just a boss monster, but the premise for an entire adventure is
Ooh,
you're,
yeah.
you're finding these zombies. You got to go into the lair full of zombies. The chambers filled with stuff. Lots of rot grubs. I'm certain make it even more just total party kill ish. Yeah.
Like the only way I would use this is like for a 12th level Halloween game where people understand either you live to get back to civilization, get repaired, or you die hard.
Yeah,
Because you
yep.
need an entire party, like 8 guys, beating on this chick just to bring her down.
What was the AC though? The AC wasn't all that impressive.
AC1.
Yeah,
That could be tough if you don't have a lot of high level fighters.
yeah.
That's why I said
Yeah.
high level adventure, everyone's level 12, and everyone's decked out to the gills in magic items and spells.
I mean, it's a rough one.
And
So what
this
I
is
definitely
issue number 7, Jason.
Okay. Also, let's go to the beginning of New Adventures of Phineas Fingers.
yes,
This little
and this is
comic
the
here.
start of the new arc, where he's just got back from the dungeon. The the boss, who looks like a 70s mafioso with sunglasses and cigars, like, here, you can't do the dungeon thing. Why don't you show this new thief, some ropes? And of course, Phineas gets skewered by a guy he's trying to steal from because the little guy yells, "Hey, Mister, watch out!" and takes the
Yeah,
money.
I don't know if you guys know what happens next. I happen to because I
I do,
it
yes.
was great. Um,
Like I said, this is a full-on story
Yeah.
arc.
Yeah.
if you guys are into Phineas, there's a Phineas treasury out there, maybe $10 to $50. That'll have every single Phineas up to a point, and definitely worth the giggle. Grond or Grog, the anti paladin, awesome. Just
It it reminds me of whenever some corporate guy brings out their kid to the job. Hey, Mister, rats on you, whatever.
Did you catch the
Like,
Easter egg?
yeah.
Mhm.
Did you check the Easter egg in the cartoon?
Let's see here.
He's trying to rob the TSR merchant.
Oh,
Oh, TSR version. Oh, that's clever. Is this Gary Gygax or one of the blue
I have
guys?
no idea. Probably just
And what's the book he's got in his hand? I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. That is Pits. Fits? Oh, I think this is Tom Wom's new game, so this might be Tom Wom.
fair enough.
But yes, if you guys are reading at home, don't sleep on Phineas Fingers. It is about to explode in a good
okay.
way.
Okay, have to definitely check it out.
All right, we're flying through this one this time, man. Jeez.
Editor's Library. Metagaming concepts maker of Stellar Conquest. Okay.
I
Came
actually
out
have
with
I
Ogre.
have a sealed copy of Stellar Conquest. I've never opened it because I wanted to find some people who wanted to play it, and it's still downstairs, sealed, first edition, blah blah blah. So many of these things that you guys have uh, probably just glossed over. Games, I still have them all, like Ogre, Stellar Conquest.
Ogre
Uh,
was awesome back in the day.
Oh
uh,
yes.
I have an original copy of it. I've got the new copy of Ogre. It was a great game. I played it with the boy. I wish we could play it again because I got the new version with the miniatures, the plastic minis, and it's just a super simple, fun game that absolutely weathered the test of time. Unfortunately,
Yes.
the brain of the designer did not.
Well, hey, they have it on Steam if you ever want to play. I think
I got it. I just couldn't get into it. I'd rather play the Steam version of BattleTech at this point, which I've been
Yeah.
a fan of.
I played one of the original like Commodore 64 versions of it, and I found out the only way to beat the ogre. There is only one way. I tried everything. What you do is you spend your points on nothing but howitzers, and you strategically place them all around the edge of the battlefield, so that no matter where the ogre goes, you just aim at the treads
Yeah.
Yeah.
until it's down, and then you can beat the ogre. Otherwise, it's not possible.
that is really a fun game if you have a little short amount of time and you got some
Mhm.
friends together. That's just a fun game. I mean, it's
Mhm. It's and it hasn't changed from
Yeah.
day one to the last Kickstarter release. I checked; all the rules are the same. I also have GEV, which could also be fun, but you gotta, like Bubba said, you gotta uh, deal with the people who'd rather play Mech Warrior or BattleTech. But if you just want something, if you can hype the ogre itself, if you were into the Bolo novels, which I am a huge fan of, then maybe you could pull it off.
Yeah, I'm thinking about trying Starfire
I
again.
I'm looking for the bolos at my used bookstores. I've got some of the retrefs, but I need to get into
Oh,
bolo.
you will love it. It's the idea of a freaking tank the size of a city block. It's a planetary defense system. Just awesome.
Advertising for McEwen Miniatures. I don't think I've ever seen these miniatures
I,
painted.
I have some on that page.
You
Wow.
do these funky looking monsters.
Yes,
I kind of dig the droid with the single wheel, like the unicycle.
I don't know if I have that one. I know I've seen it, but I mean, if you want something like that, all you got to do is it's just a matter of patience
Yeah.
and due diligence to YouTube, not YouTube, eBay, and you'll find it. Sometimes you'll find it on accident.
I'm busy building up my BattleTech divisions right now. I'm getting back into painting those. We actually play BattleTech locally once a month or so. So
That's awesome.
I'd like to get him try Starfire again, but Ron, old school gamer from the conservatory, he's the only person that ever played Starfire with me a lot. And one of the playtesters and developer lived in Grayson, like county.
Wasn't that one of the original like Avalon, not Avalon Hill, Task Force games?
Yeah, so
Because then I have it. I have all.
that's one where you go left to right, and certain weapons skip certain parts of the ship, and you just draw lines through the damage.
Yeah.
Very simple. It has its own universe, though. I think Weber actually wrote a bunch of novels for it, so it's got its own like novels in space and stuff. It's
That's cool.
So, just curious, in '77, how old was everybody? I know one person wasn't born yet, but
I was 6.
I was 10.
Yeah, I was 8 years old when this was going on. So this was like, my God, Star Wars action figures, all the action figure craze of the late '70s.
Yeah, I'm going to pop in here real quick. There's an ad for a place called Bob's Comics. I worked there 2 years after this magazine came out. It's a pretty. It was in Orange County, California, Garden Grove. That's where I got my start. I first started playing there on whenever I could get there, and then I just became one of the regular paid DMs, and I was just blown away when I saw that article. It was like Bob Dreyer, that was his name. He was a great guy. Had some obvious issues being an adult, but he and his wife ran that store into the ground eventually. Stuff that's just I wasn't privy to all that information, but God, it took me back so profoundly. I was like, I literally I worked in that place, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here now making stupid YouTube videos and working with other people in the hobby and the industry. It's just like, wow. I never knew he actually advertised, and I didn't pick up my first Dragon magazine for like 3 more years after this. So
what page was that on? Oh, never. I see it now.
Page 30. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. My finger just opened it up. That's how I discovered Danzig Quarter, and that's how I got into Warhammer 40K and stuff. That's where I got my extension of Extra Wargamers near it when I saw Danzig Corridor in Dragon Magazine later on. But yeah, who read this story though? Gnome Catch. I'm kind of digging it. I'm still kind of want this guy to die a horrible death. But
no, I need to go back and just read them all in order because I missed the first couple.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to come
Guilty
in
as
at
charged.
what was it, like 4 or 5.
I'm half tempted to copy paste all this, format it up, and have a Lulu print job done so I can sit down with a book and read it. Because the font in this is a little small for me. I do where it uses my kind of language. Buggerly Nearhon bastards. Don't want to get canceled, guys.
You gotta love the sort of insults with panache these old fantasy stories had.
Stuff that would offend some people now, Let's also look at the Nomad Gods advertisement here. What great artwork.
I do like it. I'm going to snip that one for my art library for my games.
Yeah, look at that. That is.
Everybody played Nomad Gods? It's a board game, basically, right?
Never have.
That's one I've never come
Oh,
across.
White Bear and Red Moon. I've never heard of that one either.
Oh, that's one of the first games that had the Glorantha setting.
Oh, really?
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so this is a predecessor to like RuneQuest and
Oh.
stuff.
Huh.
Wow.
Sandy Pearson is still talking about the setting in the game and stuff like that earlier, and he's not a complete loony, which is great.
It's a
Yeah,
rare.
I just saw.
I disagree with him on some stuff, but I still think the world of
Yeah,
him.
he's
Hey,
doing
Sandy.
some videos now, like shorts of various monsters. I just saw a couple of them yesterday. I think it was him.
But yeah, definitely a big Glorantha and RuneQuest fan.
Yeah, it's good that he's kind of coming out in the open more often, because Call of Cthulhu was one of those life-changing games, and
Yeah, well, I got a bone to pick with him. I backed the. Well, I didn't back, but I backed one of the Cthulhu Wars Kickstarters because it was the last one, and I didn't have it because I have everything for that stupid game. It was the giant penguin set that had the. Well, it wasn't the penguin set; it was the catastrophe set with all these alien cats. And I paid the $100 Kickstarter, which included $10 for shipping. And 3 years later, I get a notification like, "Hey, we need more money on shipping." And I'm like, "A deal's a deal, buddy. I paid my $10 back then. You can sit and spin." And I just said, threw my hands up. I'm like, "Whatever. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I won't." A week later, it shows up on my door, and I'm like, "Cool." Put it on the shelf with next to all the other Cthulhu Wars because I don't have 8 local friends who want to play this freaking monstrosity of a game. Just oh god, oh, I heard Cthulhu Wars.
Hey man, if I lived in Cali, I would.
Cthulhu. Okay, we'll bring 6 friends, and maybe I'll get Jackie to join us because I have enough factions for a dozen people to play.
wow.
A game that's supposed to take an hour and a half, right? I'm like, sure. That's going to be an all-day thing.
The story, I don't know if everybody read it, but I kind of dig it. I got sucked into the Gnome Cat. But I think it has a Greyhawk reference in it. Is it set in Greyhawk, or does it ever say?
I think it's a very early proto Greyhawk, like kind of how like Quad Keep
Oh
proto for a
god,
bit
I
of
haven't
stuff
heard
and
that
changed a
name
lot
in
of stuff.
forever.
But towards the end of the story, and it does something weird. Only Dragon Magazine gets you to the end of the Dragon Magazine, the last story, and then has you flip back from page 29 to page 22 to finish the damn story. Just retarded.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I still appreciate and love Tim Kask, but the guy could definitely use a spanking.
It cracked me up. But
I was wondering what that was when I got to it. I'm like, did I miss something? I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah, but you never see a reference to Wall Street in anything in Greyhawk except the core book. But here, you find that they're going to rescue or they're going to get involved with a bunch of hopping people and toads chasing a dwarf. That's the hopping prophet. That's the god of bigotry in Greyhawk, Wall Street.
You know where that comes from, right?
I'm not sure.
It comes from that misprint in the Bible. Faith, hop, and charity, and the greatest of these is hop.
Well, I read Orthodox, so there's not much.
Sorry. That's bullshit. I just stole that from Red Dwarf.
Jason Jacobs is saying, yes, the Gnome Catch is Greyhawk. Thank you very much. Also, Mark Thompson, if we've not said so, yes, you could have the archers fire in front and then fall back for the heavy hitters. We should definitely make that clear.
I'm aware of that. It's just it's a bad formation, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially if they have archers of their own.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, here, we'll get the drop on
You
enemy.
want archers to be able to let loose and move, but if you have a full formation behind them, their ability to fade is weakened.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have them on the flanks. I guess I'm set in my ways. But yeah, that was I kind of. It's not a bad one. You can see it's picking up. It had two good stories in it. A hat tip to wargaming, more advertising than I'd like, and a monster that was
Ridiculous.
more illustration than act. It had like this much.
And it's a great illustration, but like you would never, even if you were angry at their player, then you shouldn't be if you're a DM. You would never unleash that on them, you know.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they were just tipping their toes to see if people want more real world stuff in here, like the war game stuff, or 100% fantasy. Plus, they do say that they don't have a lot of staff writers, so they need people to start mailing stuff in for articles. I guess it picks up as the popularity does.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in here, but unless you really dig that fiction and the wargaming aspect, there's very little here outside of a very brief history of the build up to
Yeah.
D&D, Phineas Fingers, which granted I buy this magazine just for Phineas Fingers, I'm that much of a fan, and you know, maybe the Tom Wom's humor. Otherwise,
See, I got to disagree with you, Bubba. I would buy this magazine now just because of the art of the ad for Bob's Comics. But I'm hoping that as we go along, there'll be an ad for Bob's Comics when I actually worked at Bob's Comics.
That was fine. Maybe I can recognize the dragon when we get to it. If I can recognize the one that had the first time I saw Danzig Quarter in there. That's how I met a lot of my local war game guys. The guys I played Battletech with for years, Les and all them. And shit, they're all dead now.
Wow.
on the plus side, number 8 is going to be it's going to be a treasure trove. Like that episode's probably going to be like 2 hours or so because we're going to have some more great fiction, some more great art. I'm pretty sure that's when we're going to get some Gamma World.
Yeah.
So,
Gamma World previews in there, and it talks about planner junctions and stuff. The planner stuff for D&D, I just made a video this morning. It's either you do it real light or you go all in for the planner stuff, and that determines how much a DM wants crunch in their planes. Dragon is a great resource because they visit the planes off and on throughout the issues up until they got rid of it.
Oh, indeed. There's so much refining and redefining and, hammering out what the million spheres of Dungeons and Dragons is like. But we got to wrap this up. You, the audience, have been lovely, and we're at the end of our time here. Is there anything else anyone would like to throw in or say?
I did catch your video, and
It's pace for
and I've got a manual of planes I'd be willing to trade for a decent copy of Oriental Adventures.
That's true. I'll get them out here in a minute. One's got faded spine from sunlight. The other one's still blood orange. Perfect blood orange.
Yeah, my copy is I
went to look for my manual of planes because I won one. I won it at a local con, right?
Really?
And I won like a prize for role playing or something. And I can't find my manual of planes. Now I got rid of all my second edition stuff, but I have 2 copies of Oriental Adventures, and I've never been an Oriental Adventures fan. I just had it because it was first edition. That's why I like my books.
To be honest, and it's one of my favorite books, not because I'm like into the Oriental, ninjas and samurais. I passed that a long time ago, but just how they were able to put so much into one book, as a world setting. The Greyhawk book that they did, or the Dragonlance book that they did, I never look at them because there's nothing.
They're just a grab.
Yeah, it's
about Greyhawk is it gives you these big 60-mile hexes to do what you want. It's made to put entire campaigns in a single hex. So you want it loose as possible and an overarching timeline. That way any DM can plop a story, a campaign in Greyhawk and run wild with it. I'm a Greyhawker at heart, but I've always run my local baronies instead of an old.
I ran Greyhawk for the first couple of years of playing once I got it, and I still have it, and I have some great memories of it. but you're right. There was it was so vague that I didn't feel like I was running somebody else's world. I was able to put whatever I want wherever I want. I ran Expedition to the Barrier Peaks and all the TSR modules that I still have uh, there, and
Yeah,
eventually ran its course.
until recently, I never used a published campaign setting until just like maybe third edition and fifth edition, maybe. I know fifth edition for sure, but yeah,
Yes,
never used published campaigns because I just always made my own stuff. I
Yeah,
felt my stuff was better than what they could. The flow. I knew what was going to happen.
that's exactly the spirit I have as well. I prefer. Oh my gosh, an issue of Dragon Magazine number 7, $195.
Whoa.
Wow.
I had most of these growing up. I got rid of them. I've never been much of a hoarder. I keep things where I can. If I can't pack, I had a mentality. If I can't just get in the car and go, it's too much stuff.
You're a cyberpunk.
I'm literally the exact opposite. If the neighborhood's on fire, I'll be on my roof with a fire extinguisher.
I'm not doing anything. It's
Same.
just stuff.
Um, I know for settings, I'm a bit of a traveler. There are some, published settings I love to play in or run. Others, I like doing my own thing. I'd love to do a D&D game set on Pangea, actually.
Yeah, cool.
Like dinosaurs and megafauna and stuff like that,
Sweet.
and jade temples, but
Dystopia, baby.
that, kind of. I was thinking more like Conan crossed with like 1 million years BC.
Okay.
That'd be fun. Do
but
it.
yeah.
Holy
But,
shit! Issue Dragon Magazine number 1, $5,000.
Yeah. Where are you checking at? eBay or
eBay.
check A Books and see if you can find better deals.
The white box used to be $5,000. Now it's $10,000. I need to roast the magazine one more time before hopping off, and then ask a question. But I love how in the last few magazines, and admittedly some people don't love this, but I do kind of like how there are these little rectangles that said next issue, this, and it's like it gets you pumped up. You're excited. And in this one, it's your ad
Yes.
here.
Because they are discovered ad revenue was profitable, I think, in 1977.
Yes.
The final question I have, and someone in the comments asked this as well, is that a Ash Wednesday?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's why I didn't get to read as much because we didn't get back home from church until about 9:30 last night. It was raining and crazy, and we ended up having to go to. We tried going to a different church because it was closer to where we were, and it was just a big, it was fun because when we're in the car together, my son and I play dueling music. We pull up a song to play off YouTube, and I was trying to, introduce him to stuff he'd never heard, like Pink Floyd, and he's pulling up this weird ass shit. A lot of it sounded like steam powered giraffe kind of music. If you've ever heard of those guys,
Well, you can out weird him though. You can out weird him.
Unleash some Sun Ra on him, and he'll be weird.
or King Crimson, or yeah. Well, he usually wins that. I was actually going for classic, stuff that's good.
That's relative.
Yeah, I know. I played some Jackson Brown, some Pink Floyd. I think
Sounds like Tiny Tim. No.
Tiny Tim's still pretty good. Good enough for SpongeBob. All right, guys, you have yourself a great one. I gotta go take care of some stuff today. It was great to see you all. I'll get back to you in a day or two, Eldrad. Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys next Thursday or the Thursday after for Dragon number 8.
Next Thursday, Dragon 8, chugging forward, noon.